Wow.
So it's the same thing in life. If you're having a problem, you got to turn towards your problem and take a minute to breathe. Because if you can breathe, you can think. And if you can think, you can fight, or you can figure out what's going on with that problem.
Welcome to the Knowing Podcast. My name's Christene Marie. Each interview, each guest that comes here on the podcast is conducted Stephen King style, which means that I get to know them right along with you. There's no preset agenda. There's actually no real introduction of each guest. And the reason for this is that we withhold judgment. We withhold any kind of bias so that not only do we get to know them and remain curious about their story and what they have to offer us, but also we remain curious about ourselves. And by way of this podcast, we come to know not only our businesses, not only our relationships, but ultimately we come to know ourselves. Enjoy. Joe Stolte, I'm so happy to have you on the Knowing Podcast. Thank you for your time.
Thank you for having me. It's my pleasure.
We met a couple years ago. We were both speaking at an event in Austin, and I was so interested with what you were saying about the daily AI and what you were doing there. But then we started connecting beyond that and just talking about just some overlap in values, which I really appreciated, because at the end of the day, it's the alignment of values that really allows for growth and sustainability in that regard, and just meaningful relationships. So Joe, I'd love to know, what does our listeners, we do this in kind of Stephen King style, so
Sure.
I get to know you along with our listeners. So what do we have to know about you for this conversation to be impactful and effective?
Yeah, love that question. Probably the first thing you should know is I've been with my wife for 20 years.
Oh, I love that. Yay!
Yeah. And I don't look like I've been with my wife for 20 years. We've been together since our early 20s. I'm in my early 40s now.
Wow.
We were dated for 9 years and then we got married. But we've been together for over 20 years. We have 2 kids and one on the way.
Oh, congratulations. I didn't know that.
Yeah, thank you. In end of May.
Oh my gosh, that's so soon. So by the time this comes out, you'll probably be like in the delivery room.
That's right. We call this our miracle child.
Oh.
Total blessing. We have a boy and a girl, and we thought we are complete. And we had listed our house, and we were getting ready to like spend half the year in Lisbon and in Austin. And God/the universe had other plans. So now we're having our third, and
oh my God,
that's probably the most important like part of my identity that matters the most, is just the stewardship. That a man has when he transitions from man to father, or from like whatever you are before you get married and then become a father. We could talk about a lot, but that's probably what I'm most proud of. I've got a fairly accomplished business career I'm happy to share more about, but that's like who I am at the end of the day.
That's fun. How did you meet your wife?
We actually met in Seattle.
Okay.
And to tell this story, I'm going to have to talk about a part of my background that I almost never talk about.
Please do. I love it. Story time.
So the other thing you should know is like I'm a fairly successful serial entrepreneur. I'm a 5-time founder. I've had 3 successful exits, working on my 4th.
Let's go.
And but long before the business days, I actually skipped college. I graduated at 17, not because I was like Doogie Howser and skipped grades, but because just the way my birthday was. And the first thing that I chose to do in high school was to be a professional breakdancer.
What?
Yes. So I left high school. I moved from a small farm town in the middle of nowhere, Oregon, to Seattle. And I just trained every day. And I became part of a breaking crew called the Massive Monkeys.
This is so good.
And we won 2 world titles. The mayor of Seattle gave us our own day twice. We toured the world. I went on to produce hundreds of breaking events. I was one of the 2 people that helped seed getting breaking into the Olympics, which it was last year. So this is a whole part of my life where, in high school, the first thing I decided to do with my life was to choose mastery in this dance, this culture.
Yes.
And I used to go to New York City and like sleep on the floors of like the South Bronx and Harlem of the people that like started breaking, which we call b-boying. So I could just waiting for them to like teach us Mr. Miyagi style,
Oh my gosh, this is so exciting.
Well, what happened is like when I was in high school, I ended up learning breaking from the only people in my school that were breaking were like the Asians. There's like different groups. There's like the goths and the jocks and there's these different factions. And there was this group of like Asian kids that were learning breaking. And so how this ties into how I met my wife is 2 of the guys in the group were Cambodian, right? And another friend of mine who is Korean but adopted, he was learning Cambodian and he couldn't roll his R's. And I was like, man, if he can do it, I can do it. So I started learning how to speak Cambodian at like a really young age. And so fast forward, it's, 2003, 2004-ish. And at this point in my life, my main priorities were like training, breaking 5 or 6 hours a day and going to the club and trying to meet girls.
That's a pretty fun life for
early 20s, 21-year-old Joe. And so what ended up happening is that year, my breaking crew, Massive Monkeys, we won our very first world title. And the mayor of Seattle had heard about that and gave us like our own day, like the key to the city, Massive Monkey Day of Seattle, April 26th.
That is epic. Does it still happen today?
And we started throwing an event every year since then. It's one of the biggest breaking events in the country. So we had gotten this proclamation and it kind of had made news in Seattle. And my wife's sister had heard about us. She was studying at the University of Washington. She was taking, I think, an anthropology class.
Okay.
And, basically she was like, I want to go do an anthropology study on these guys, Massive Monkeys. So
get out.
Yeah. So she hits up my roommate at the time. And then, he agrees to do an interview with her at like our practice area, this place called Jefferson Community Center. And, Amy, my sister-in-law, brought Judy as like her sidekick, and Jerome, my roommate, was like, hey, come with me for this interview, because he knows like I'm articulate, I could talk, right? So I go in and I see Judy, and I've never seen her before, and she's just like hot. I was like, oh my God, that girl's super cute. So we do this interview, and I didn't really talk, we exchanged names, And then interview was over, and fast forward to later that evening, we're at the club doing what we do best, which is like breakdancing and trying to get girls. And, I saw my sister-in-law and I just went and started talking to her, and we struck up a conversation, and I realized that their family's from Cambodia. They're Chinese, but they escaped the genocide in Cambodia. Yeah. And so.
And you were already learning Cambodia at the time?
Well, I was already conversational.
Wow.
I had stopped trying to learn. It was just what I had left at that point.
Yeah.
So I start talking to Amy, my sister-in-law, in Khmer, in Cambodian.
Wow.
And she doesn't really speak, but she understands. And I'm like, well, where's your sister? No, that's the main thing I'm trying to figure out. And I saw Judy walking up out of the corner of my eye. So long story short, I just made like an in the moment decision where I was like, I want to talk to this girl, and I don't want her to be in the friend zone. So I was like, what's the boldest thing that I could do? So I went, like I disappeared, and I came back, and I came up from behind her, and all we said was like, hi at the interview. And I had not talked to this girl at all. I put my arms around her from the back, and I said in her ear in Cambodian, you think this white guy's cute, don't you? And I was like so scared she was like gonna splash her drink in my face. And I grabbed her drink and drank it. Like I'm just saying, how far could I take this? And she didn't splash her drink in my face.
Because it was gone.
And didn't throw me off of her. And I kind of backed off. It's like, I'm just kidding. I'm Joe. I met you earlier. And then, that started the rest of our history.
Oh my gosh, Joe, good for you. Yeah. That's very forward.
It was very forward. It worked out. And here's the thing is, we didn't date until like 6 months later. And I was her first boyfriend and basically her first everything. Wow. And I got this really clear vision at the time, which really felt like a vision from God, where I could see us old on a house, looking at the ocean in rocking chairs, like our life was done. And I saw it, I felt it. And it was that vision that allowed me at a young age to go, that's what's going to happen. So it kind of doesn't matter like what relationship friction we run into, and in 20 years we've had plenty of it.
Yeah.
I'd always seen that vision and trusted that is a reality, that if I stay committed to her, then this can come true. And kind of my, I was raised Christian, and my mental model for relationships is kind of like what the Bible might describe it as Christ's relationship with the church.
Yeah.
And if you think about love, it's kind of this word, like it you know what it is, but it doesn't mean anything. So I said, well, what does it mean to be loving? What does the action look like when you're loving? And if I look at that, to me, that's commitment. So I just woke up every day and was like, I'm going to recommit to this woman before marriage, just so that because that's what God asks you to do in the Bible, right? Just make that daily commitment. And that's the only mental model I had for love that wasn't my parents. I'd never really had a good relationship,
Yes.
And so for better or for worse, we made it, and we're still kicking. So that's the origin story of how I met my wife.
I love that. Honestly, it sounds like a movie moment, what you guys had at the club. Yeah. I love that. As you were describing it, I literally could see it, and so cute.
Yeah, it was, it was probably a order of magnitude more arrogant than it needed to be, but it worked. So,
well, you wanted to make an impact and you did. So
yeah,
be brave.
that's right. I have this like thing like where I can be around people and like I've had it since I was a kid where we can have like an emotional exchange and I can make people feel comfortable. And so I was like, well, I don't want her to feel so comfortable that she wants to be my friend.
Yes,
I want her to make her feel comfortable in this other way, So
what a good point.
Yeah.
You mentioned the model of your marriage, Christ's relationship with the church. Just for people who don't know what that means, how would you describe that?
Yeah, and I'll probably butcher this and definitely wouldn't do it justice. So like if this is interesting, like maybe ChatGPT it or go find out for yourself, get the primary data.
Yeah.
But the way that I would explain it is it's like in the Bible talks about the relationship between Christ, right, God's son, and the church, which are the people that have accepted Christ as Lord and that whole thing. They describe it as a bride and groom style of relationship. Right. And if you look at some of the, I wouldn't call them like mandates, but wisdom, the behaviors embedded in the wisdom, a lot of it comes back to commitment. A lot of it comes back to surrender. And a lot of it comes back to just putting God first every day. And so like, even if you're not religious and you're not like Christ is not your thing, or you don't have like a religious orientation or like a faith-based orientation in that regard, the wisdom is getting up every day and making a commitment to what matters the most to you, and having the faith that what you're committing to is going to come to fruition in a way that you see it in your mind.
Yeah.
And I think that's the part that is, a lot of this gets lost in this religious conversation because people say, oh, that's like not my flavor of God or ice cream, or I'm an atheist, or I'm whatever.
Yes.
I don't think that matters as much as it matters that you understand that the ability to have faith to manufacture a potential future reality that doesn't exist in partnership with the creator or God or however you see that or don't, that is one of the most important things that we have available to us as humans. And I think it works whether you believe in God or Christ or not. I just think that if you have that orientation, it makes it a lot easier.
A faith orientation that what you manufacture for the future that has yet to be can be given and driven and propelled by faith.
That's right. Let's take a totally different example. Have you ever read the book Think and Grow Rich?
No, I haven't, which is horrifying.
Gosh, that's amazing.
I know.
I'm so happy for you. You should read it like this weekend.
I'm so happy for you.
And like, it's kind of like if you haven't seen my favorite movie, I'm like, or haven't been to Disneyland, I'm like, oh, I'm happy for you.
Joe, I have not read somewhat like how to make friends and influence people. I haven't read that one. There's like some core books. Yeah. Anyways, keep going.
You're doing okay.
I need to read that.
Well, Think and Grow Rich was written by Napoleon Hill.
Yes.
And I wouldn't describe Napoleon Hill as like a Jesus-fearing guy, but he uses very similar language, right? And in the movie The Secret was really born out of Napoleon Hill's teachings.
Interesting.
So if you think about manifestation and attraction, one of the things that Napoleon Hill talks about is having desire and faith. If you have a burning desire for something in your life and you have faith, or you can manufacture faith through something that he calls autosuggestion, which is what we today would call an affirmation, which a Christian might call a prayer, or a Catholic might call the rosary.
Isn't that wild?
You have faith in something. You have desire plus faith plus some kind of repetition for the subconscious mind that strengthens your faith in what you're going towards, be that prayer or an affirmation. That strengthening of faith and desire is what opens up the, let's call it a channel in your mind for what I call the inspired action plan to come in, the exact right steps for you. Now, a Christian might experience that as the Holy Spirit. Now, a non-Christian might experience that as intuition, right? Or any other religious denotation might see that as something from God.
Yeah.
I actually think that there is a thing called God, and there is truth to that. I also think that these are just mechanics, like the way that we've been created, having faith and desire, and then repetition of what you want for this potential future reality that doesn't exist opens up an opportunity for that inspired action plan. And I say inspired because it's not necessarily about, let's say, massive action, which a lot of people in personal development will say, oh, you got to take massive action. I think it's about inspired, patient action, the right next step. I call these prime moves, right? They're the moves that are the high leverage moves that are just right for you.
Yes.
And you only know that they're just right for you if A, you have desire for something and faith for that same thing, Because if you don't, in the absence of those, it's highly likely you're actually doing someone else's action plan. Your culture, your family, the boss, the person you work for, the cultural programming. But inside of your own unique, clean desires for what you want to see in the world, plus faith, plus repetition to make them real, that's kind of like it sets the condition to get this intuitive spiritual download that, oh, that's what I'm supposed, that's my calling. Yes. That's what I'm supposed to do in this life.
Yes.
And I don't think it's complicated either. And it's just not well articulated and it's not well understood. So I got into that. My first experience of that was through Christ, through the Christian church. And I've had plenty of experiences of that have nothing to do with the Christian church.
Right.
And I don't want to take anything away from God or Christ or whatever anyone believes in. Yeah. I've just observed that these are mechanics that work, batteries included, regardless of your spiritual faith.
Right.
Yeah.
I love how simple that is, the way you broke it down. And I've seen the same thing. You know, as your world expands, the proverbial you, and you start living beyond just the little curated existence you had in childhood, you're like, oh wait, these same principles really do carry over into multiple different mindsets, modalities, religions, etc. I mean, it's wild to see how consistent, and doesn't that speak to the truth of it?
Yeah, 100%.
When it's so consistently discussed and highlighted.
It's a beautifully simple thing.
Yes.
It doesn't have to be woo and mystical and weird. Yeah. You know, again, this is not an indictment of or an endorsement of, but I don't think you need to do mushrooms or ayahuasca to have this thing in your life, and you don't need to go have a religious experience either. Now, I would encourage you to explore what you think is right for you, and I don't want to be a judge of that.
Right.
I'm just saying that I think it's simple, and when you understand how it works, making things happen in the world and in your life it's magical and beautiful and simple.
Well, and Joe, I don't think a lot of us are awake to our desires to even begin there. And that's step number one. What do you desire? What do you want? And we're not even awake enough for that. You know, we live so inundated that we don't even have time to truly listen to within, because we're constantly distracted. I mean, my phone, it is like, I have to like put it on the other side of the room because I'll just habitually pick it up if it's next to me. I'll just check it. And so it's like very much intention to not have a constant input to allow the space for the desires to manifest. So how did you go about allowing for kind of step one, which is desire, to become known to you?
Well, I was born with something called the curse of ambition.
I know about that.
Yeah, and it's not something I've exactly learned how to turn off, just how to control. So I've had deep desires for just things in my life and in the world. Kind of like I gave you the story of how I saw this rocking chair moment with my wife. Like I was like, all right, I want that, and I'm going to have that.
Yeah.
And you know, and so for better or for worse, that's been the beginning. But I love what Stephen Covey says. He says awareness creates its own momentum. And so if you can just become aware of your own situation with the desire to change it and the faith that it will happen, you will actually start doing what's best for you to change, right? And I think we all go through an evolution of dependence to independence, and some of us are lucky enough to get into interdependence. Right?
Yeah.
And I think if you can just be aware of that model, even without me telling you what those words mean, you could probably do a self-assessment and figure out where in my life am I still dependent?
Yeah.
Where am I entirely independent? And where could I graduate to being interdependent?
Yeah.
Right? And I think I just bring that mental model up because if you're aware of the path, just that awareness can bring you into the next best step that's right for you. But I mean, for me, I just, from a very young age, have always had like a deep desire for the way that I want the world to be.
Yes.
And thankfully, you know, when I was younger, my father was in the military and he traveled a ton. Instead of having us travel with him, he was gone a lot.
Okay.
And my mom worked 2 jobs.
Wow.
And I lived in a little farm town of less than 1,000 people.
Joe, get out.
When we got a traffic light, it was a huge deal. And when we got a McDonald's, people fell out of their chair. I mean, it was a really big deal. And so my role model as a kid was my older brother, Frank. He's about 13 years older than me.
Okay.
And
how many siblings did you have?
I have several, but my father had kids from a previous marriage that didn't grow up in my house.
Okay.
And then my mother had a son from a previous marriage that did grow up in the house. And that's my brother, Frank. So I didn't understand that we had different dads until later. So this is basically me and Frank alone a lot. And so he's 13 years older than me, and I was born in the 80s. So his priorities, just to paint the picture, were like fixing his Camaro in the driveway, bench pressing, drinking milk, and smoking weed.
Drinking milk.
So that's like what I thought you did. You know, like that was like my mental model of the world and like what was cool. Yeah. You know, and so I from a young age, I just wanted to leave my farm town. I wanted out. I want, like, what's the next biggest city? I used to ride my bike. This sounds like such an old man story. 13 miles, the next biggest city, which is 44,000 people, Hillsboro, Oregon. And then I made my way into the city of Portland. And then I started driving to Seattle to practice breaking. And then I would, you know, go out. And then eventually I went all over the world, right? Like Tokyo, New York City. You literally
got your dream.
Yes, exactly.
You made it happen.
But it came from this, like, I just don't want to be in this stupid little farm town anymore. And I look back, I don't think it was stupid. I actually look back at it with a lot of reverence. But at the time, it was just like, get me out of here. Like, I'm meant for more than this place, you know, where it was a great place to get in a fight and develop a drug habit. You know?
Isn't that the truth?
And more than half my friends by the time I went to middle school were incarcerated because of those things. Middle school. Yeah, exactly. From drugs and gangs and fighting. And my parents were amazing. They loved me. They gave me, like, we didn't make a lot of money, but they found a way to, like, get me everything I wanted. Right. But this desire to want more actually made me very resourceful. Like, I couldn't, like, it didn't matter how convincing and how much I would beg my parents, like, they couldn't get me all the toys that I wanted. So I would observe, like, you know, in Oregon, there's like this thing where if you take cans back to the store, you get 5 cents back. So I would go to these places where my brother would party and, like, pick up all the beer cans. And that was how I got my first money. And then one day, my dad taught me how to mow the lawn. And I was like, oh, cool. But the problem was I hated mowing the lawn and I was not good at it at all. So I went around and knocked on all these doors to mow lawns. I was like, hey, I'll mow your lawn for $10 and I'll keep doing that if you want me to. And then I mowed the first lawn. I ran over somebody's sprinkler and it was bad. And so I was like, crap, but I have all these people that, you know, they're going to give me money to mow their lawns. What do I do? And I think I was 10 or 11. I was about 10 going on 11. And it was the summertime. And I just went to my friends who had lawnmowers. It's like, hey, can I borrow 3 of your lawnmowers? And we lived in a farm town. There's a lot of migrant workers, right? So I asked my friend who speaks Spanish, could you get one of the migrant workers who doesn't have a job and needs day labor to just mow lawns for me for $5? And I'll tell him where to mow the lawns.
Oh my gosh.
And the reason
Joe,
why.
Get out.
I wanted Jordans, the Jordan shoes that were out, and I wanted a Raiders starter jacket. But those are like $130, which, you know, in the early 90s, like, my parents were like, why would you ever spend that much money on clothes? And I was like, and I wanted Guess overalls, if you can imagine, think back to those days.
Guess overalls.
Which are also $100, you know. My mom was like, hey, here's $50 school clothes budget. We used to go to this place called Kmart. And she's like, whatever you can get for $50. So I was like, yeah.
For the year,
exactly. So I'm like, no, like, I'm watching, like, hip hop videos and I'm falling in love with dancing. I was like, I want to look like that. So I did mowed these lawns for, like, I didn't mow them. Someone else did for the whole summer. And then that was basically my first business. You know, and so my first real business. I
love that.
But that's how it all spiraled. Just from there, it was like, I learned, like, I don't need to depend on others. I can go from dependence on my parents to independent. Just by what I would call back in the day, hustling. You know, just like finding ways to create value and get money. I didn't know anything about money. We didn't know anybody that had any money. I didn't even know anybody that knew anybody that had any real money. So the idea of business and entrepreneurship was like,
not even a context.
No, there's nobody came into my life and was like, hey, there's a thing called being an entrepreneur. It was like, go to school, get good grades, and get a good job, and you'll be good for life. You know, we were still living under that illusion. And that always just sounded like terrible to me. You know, so
that sounds awful.
Well, that was the entry point of, like, and if I go back even further, I used to walk to school, you know, like in first, second, third, fourth grade, right? By the time I got to fourth grade, my parents would just give me money to go buy lunch at school, and I'd walk by the store on the way to school. So I was like, like, the school lunch sucks. So I would buy all the candy that I could get. And I realized after a while that everyone loves those, like, they're called Fun Dip. Do you remember that? They're like packages of sugar and like a sugar stick. So I would buy all the Fun Dip that I could get my hands on with the $3 my parents gave me for lunch. And then I would just trade Fun Dip for whoever's mom made them the best stuff, like lasagnas or tacos or sandwiches. So, like, it was a form of entrepreneurship, but I was basically bartering, you know? And so I would just trade sugar highs for whatever people ate that day.
Roast beef, real
food. Exactly. Because like my parents didn't have time to make me lunch and I didn't know how to do it. And I couldn't get much for $3 at the store, but I could trade up to like whatever I wanted, you know?
Yes.
So you asked like, where did it come from? I don't know where it came from, but I know when it started to show up in my life. And it was as early as back then. And my whole life has just been, wouldn't it be cool to do that? And what would need to be true, you know, like vision and capital and people to make that cool thing a reality.
Yeah. Okay. So I love your story. It's so engaging and so fun. And frankly, I hope people listening to it are like, oh, like I could have my kid do that, you know? And actually you shared a wonderful story right around Christmas time, your son. Do you mind sharing that real fast?
Yeah, I'm happy to. So
I love it.
We were at our place in Hawaii this summer and my son wanted these things. If you've ever been to like Tulum or the beach where it's like a slingshot and you shoot it in the air and it's a helicopter on the way down. So he really wanted to buy one of these things, but they were, you know, pretty clearly cheaply made. And they're like, our place is pretty close to the Hilton Hawaiian Village. They do this big firework thing on Fridays in Waikiki. It's amazing.
Fun.
So we go there for the fireworks and all these vendors like set up stuff to sell to the tourists. And we go there so often that my wife is like, yeah, I don't want to pay. You know, she's her family's first generation immigrants. Like, I'm not going to pay that much money for that stuff. My wife's like, why don't we buy you a bunch of these? I'll finance your quote unquote inventory and then you can sell them and you can pay mommy back for financing your inventory. So explain to him what all this means. He's like, that sounds awesome.
And how old is he?
He was 5 at the time.
5 years old.
Yeah.
Got it.
So we do that and we sit up at the beach and he starts selling them. And then some guy comes up and he's like, not sober. And he's like, hey, can I give you $100 to buy all of them? And my son is like, he looks at me and I'm like, don't look at me. It's your stuff, dude. It's your business, you know? And he's like, okay. So he sells all of them and gets like his very first $100 bill.
Oh my gosh, how cute.
And so we're like, hey, do you want to, now we're teaching about money. Do you want to spend it all? Do you want to save it or do you want to reinvest it and make more money?
Yeah.
He's like, I want to make more money. So we just ordered more inventory. And then he did it again. And then he ended up making about between like $300 and $500, something like that.
Yeah.
And, you know, which was amazing. And we're teaching him about like people and like marketing. And I'm like, hey, who pays for it? He's like, the parents. I'm like, but who wants it? He's like, the kids. So I'm like, okay, when you're telling people that you have these for sale, who should you be talking to? He's like, the kids. So he would just talk to the kids and then the kids would like pull the parent's arm and pull him in. And, you know, like people wouldn't buy and he'd get discouraged. And I'd be like, okay, cool. Like, let's get centered, take some breaths and try again and watch. I bet you're going to sell something. And soon enough, he sold it. So he sort of learned the early disappointment of like, I don't think it takes a long time to really master that. And he's like me, super competitive. He does not like losing. So we're just kind of helping him manage through that, like, oh, they didn't buy. And then, yay, they did buy.
Yes, major peaks and valleys.
100%. So that was fun. And then at the end of the year, I do this big entrepreneur dinner. Well, it's not that big. I pick 8 of my favorite entrepreneurs and, you know, people that have made a huge impact on me that I've really enjoyed spending time with. And funny story, we were trying to get the vault at Perry's, which is a great steakhouse here in Austin. But the manager like wouldn't commit to renting it to me and I couldn't quite figure out why.
Weird.
So they put us at this kind of private table in the corner right next to the vault. And I'll open that loop, I'll come back to the story.
All right.
So I've got about 8 of us and my son loves, like we play this game at Urban Air, which is like a big trampoline game place for kids.
Yeah.
Where we like, it's like Drive-In USA and he always
fun.
He always picks the Lamborghini, you know? So I was like, I mean, I'm too tall to drive a Lambo, to be honest with you, but I was like, how fun would it be if I rented aLamborghini and surprised him and brought him to the dinner this year?
My God.
Because now he's an entrepreneur.
Now he's an entrepreneur.
So I wanted to show him like, this is like, you're in a new group, buddy. So I brought him out, I surprised him. I rented this beautiful white Lamborghini and we drove in to the dinner. We valet parked it and all the guys were out like watching us get out. And then we went and had the dinner. It was awesome. And then everybody shared their wins for the year.
Yes.
So I asked him to prepare that in advance. So it's just a big gratitude celebration for life and for the year. And Journey did his.
Wow, Joe.
And about halfway through the meal, the manager comes up and introduces herself to me. We were with my friend David Gonzalez, who's like the mayor of Austin. You know, he knows everybody. He introduced me to the manager, and she's like, "I'm so sorry about the vault and the whole situation. I can't tell you who rented it, but you'll see him when he walks in. We weren't sure if he was going to go to this location or the one up north. I was like, okay, cool. And so we're just sitting there having dinner. And then, all along walks, Joe Rogan and a bunch of famous people. And they're in the vault, like literally right next to us.
Cool. You're like, okay, fine.
Yeah.
Joe Rogan can have it.
Exactly. And back when I was like a professional dancer, we performed with Jay-Z, like Alicia Keys, Beyonce, a bunch of big celebrities. So I've been kind of like the celebrity worship has been like washed out of my system.
Yes.
I just thought it was cool.
I love that.
And it was fun. And then my son got to see like, oh, there's this guy going back there and he had like a security team. He's like, Daddy, who's that guy?
He probably felt like this was the coolest thing in his life.
So he's just having this like total imprint moment for the future. And cool. It was just fun. And it just kind of emerged. And again, it was one of those things where I was like, I thought that would be cool. So let's make it happen.
Yes.
No matter how ridiculous it is.
Yep.
And the ridiculous part is like, I'm like 6'2.5", which is just bare, like a little bit too tall to be in a Lambo.
Too big.
So I'm like smashed up and my knees like on my chest. So we're making it happen. And what's cool is like we got to go on the back roads and go super fast. And I didn't quite know how to connect my phone to the Bluetooth or listen to the radio. And then Paradise City by Guns N' Roses came on.
No, that's so fun.
And so now he knows every word of that song.
I was about to say he knows it.
He loves that song. Like there's this part where like it goes crazy at the end and he's like, oh, in the car. So it's just, there's a lot that's stacked in there. It was super fun.
That's so special. I love that. Well, the reason why I wanted to bring that up is because being able to teach our kids at, facilitating it, right? And it started with your wife saying, actually, no, I'm not going to go spend this absorbent amount of money on this marked up product. Let's have you do it yourself. And then this whole opportunity came from that. And I love that. And it's a principle. It's a mindset shift from instant gratification to doing the work.
Yeah.
So I love that. And so you just have always kind of had this in you. When you were, I guess, around the 17 age mark and you decided to pursue breaking, did anyone resist that? Or were your parents like, go for it?
No, they were super supportive.
Cool.
Yeah, like my buddy Marcus called me. I've been going up there every weekend to practice. He's like, hey, I think a few of us are going to move into this house. You want to move in? I was like, yeah. He's like, cool. Well, I'll see you when you get here. And I literally packed my bags and left, and I was there the next day. He's like, oh, I forgot to tell you, that's not until next week, but you can just stay at my house. I was gone. Like I was ready to go.
Wow.
I had a very long leash as a kid, like to the point where I left living with my parents and I moved in with my father's ex-wife and his other kids to go to a different high school and have a different experience to kind of get out of my weird neighborhood too.
Well, it didn't sound like it was very healthy. If it was primarily drug focused.
I've been in very, very bad neighborhoods, and it wasn't that bad, but it wasn't good.
Yeah.
And so I was like gone. Like all of high school, I just lived at like with my half brothers and would come home occasionally, and so I was kind of like gone already.
Yeah.
And they learned a long time ago, like, you can't control me. I'm just gonna sneak out anyway. So yeah, like my mom's wildly supportive of she's just almost to a fault. Like whatever you put your mind to, you can do it. And I'm so proud of you. And I always knew you were special. And like she's the only person in my life that I ever had tell me that, and I'm so thankful she did because that is so important. You know, like even if you believe that you're special, and I did not. I kind of grew up not thinking I was special. I wouldn't say I was depressed, but like I had like deep self-esteem issues. And like my mom was the one that was like, basically like just, you're great. You're amazing. And like, and I believed that because it's my mom,
Yeah.
And then I just worked really hard to make it true. Like as much as I could.
Yeah.
Right. Like that just gave me this idea. It's like, man, well, like if I'm going to be great, like I got to do the work.
Yes.
And so that also put me on this path of just like, how much farther can I go?
Right.
In any direction.
Right.
God, spirituality, the evolution of consciousness, entrepreneurship, parenting, personal development, weight training, breaking, business, finance, accounting, writing code. I just get curious and I get obsessive and then I want to master a thing. But that question of how much farther could I go is just like I used to have that on a sticky note on my computer just because it was like, cool, I'm having a bad day. Well, how much farther could I go today? How much farther can I go? I'm exhausted. Like I'm under the squat rack and my legs are going to buckle. Well, how much farther could I go? It's just been a fun question to sit and not like a punitive, like, oh, like and I don't want to make this guy wrong, but like a David Goggins kind of like,
kill yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know about all, but it's actually born out of curiosity because I'm a curious person where I'm like, I don't know, how much further could I go?
Yes.
How many more reps could I do before I literally just drop the weight on the floor?
Yes.
Or like, how much more ridiculous could I make this event or this experience, or could we rent a Lambo? Just that kind of stuff, right?
I love that question. And with that, I love that you brought up David Goggins, because for a little bit I was very fascinated with him because I grew up very much so facilitated in like ease with our mothers. I mean, they love us so much. Thank God.
Yeah.
Thank God. I know not everyone has that, but my mom really was so committed to making us feel as loved and easy in terms of our life and situation as possible. And I didn't learn how to work hard. I hid the SAT score or SAT test from my parents because I didn't want to do it. I was scared, right? So it's interesting, like the way that you went with that kind of encouragement and love and tenderness, where it's like, how far can I go? Where frankly, it's only been recently where I'm like, okay, that scares me. I'm actually going to go do it because it scares me. And so how do you, and have you ever had a time where that wasn't your MO, or has that's always been in you? How far can I go?
Yeah.
It sounds like it's always been there.
Part of it's always been there.
Yeah.
Well, not that question.
Okay.
But that ambitious curse of ambition.
Yes.
That's been there for a long time.
Yeah.
But that, like I am, I don't know, at the end of the day, I'm just a normal guy. Like I will optimize for comfort too. It's just that I've learned that your biggest growth opportunities are at the extremities of your experience. Right?
Yes.
And I love growing.
Yeah.
Not like growth for growth's sake, because I need it for my self-esteem, although that was true in my 20s and part of my 30s. It's just like, now it's just out of curiosity.
Yes.
Yeah. But I love the idea of growth. Like I think that we're here to create fundamentally.
Yes.
We are of a creator, and we are here to create. If you just look at the species, like the thing that makes us different from, other primates is we just make tools like nothing else on this planet. Right? Like we make tools and we evolve, and more, iPhones, AI, moon landings, whether you believe in that or not. I mean, like just, like there's, that's what we do. We create stuff and we invent. And so if you're not, in some ways, like growth is creating yourself. It's like chipping away at what's there to find out what's underneath.
Yes.
It's basically impossible to do that if you don't stretch. If you don't go out and have what what my friend Jesse Elder calls a leading edge experience,
right?
Where you're on the edge,
right?
And so for me, like a leading edge experience might be like when I came to Austin, I signed up for Tim Kennedy's sheepdog program. I came from Los Angeles, and I don't think I hadn't shot a gun since I was like a teenager on a farm where it wasn't legal, and I went to this program, and it was like I thought it was going to be just shooting. I didn't realize there was like an MMA component attached to it.
Oh my.
I show up and it's half day combat Ju-Jitsu, half day shooting, repeat. And the half day combat Ju-Jitsu is like no weight classes. It's me doing different Ju-Jitsu exercises with 35 other men.
Did you know Ju-Jitsu?
Nothing about Ju-Jitsu.
Oh my
I knew nothing
goodness.
about Ju-Jitsu.
Wow.
And what was awesome about that is the whole point of doing that was that you can quote unquote get to the black. Get to a point where you're about to black out.
Wow.
So you push yourself all the way to that edge.
To the limit, yeah.
And so I learned something valuable while actually it was like the head of the defense training from Border Patrol was like, I was sparring with him.
Wow, get out.
And I thought, okay, he's like 240, I'm like 180 pounds. And I thought, okay, I'm a B-boy, did full control of my body. And he had mount on me and I was supposed to get him off me and get out of mount. And it's like a simple movement. But I made it complicated. I like bucked him off and tried to push his head out of the way. I got halfway out, but it wasn't fast enough. And then he sat on me. And I was like, well, if you give your back up in Ju-Jitsu, then you're done. I can choke you out. So I'm trying to get back on my back, but he's pinning me. And I just felt like my left rib pop. So I finally get on my back and I'm like, there's like this searing pain. And I love this class. If you make what he calls victim noises, they come put their hand on your face. So they're like sit on you. So you can't like if you're hurt, like you have to just take it. And so I literally threw up in my mouth because I was in so much pain. And I just swallowed it and sat there and took it. It was so gross. But that's what I mean. And then I went through the rest of the day and I got one more Ju-Jitsu story here that's great. And the next day I was with my buddy, Travis Steffen. We've sold a couple companies together. He's an amazing guy. And he was a fighter before, a professional fighter.
Right.
And so I'm like broken. I can't even lift my left hand above my head. I mean, it's like bruised rib, the whole bit. And it's cold. It's the winter in Austin, and my backyard pool is frozen. He's like, dude, just go cold plunge and get in there. You'll warm up. You'll be fine. Just tell people you're a little bit injured and they'll take it easy on you. So I go in, I warm up, and I can finally get my hand above my shoulder. I can raise it, and I'm back. And I'm so competitive. I stop telling people like I'm hurt, and I just start going for it. But I'm kind of phoning it in on my left side. So this guy anyway, we're sparring again. This guy's got me. He's got me in like a chokehold. And when you're in Ju-Jitsu and I'm not an expert in Ju-Jitsu, I've done like this class and one more, and that's it. But I learned something important about what I'm talking about, growth and growing at your extremities. It's a valuable lesson you can apply anywhere in your life. When you're getting choked out by somebody, the goal, the first thing you want to do is turn away from them and get away. But what you need to do is turn and face your problem first. And what that looks like in Jiu-Jitsu is you turn towards the person choking you, you take your chin and you put it on your chest so that you can't get his arm in there. Because if you can breathe, you can think, and if you can think, you can fight and get away.
Wow.
So it's the same thing in life. If you're having a problem, you got to turn towards your problem and take a minute to breathe, because if you can breathe, you can think, and if you can think, you can fight, or you can figure out what's going on with that problem.
That's so
And so
good,
I learned
Joe.
that with like a cracked rib and some dude trying to choke the life out of me on a jiu-jitsu
Yeah.
mat in Cedar Park.
I love your stories. I just want to keep going. I mean, honestly, Joe, it's like getting to the next level for so many of us. We find ourselves like, okay, okay, this is my baseline of what's possible. And I think a lot of times we're actually not living at our baseline. I think we're operating far less than that, because to circle back to the very genesis of the conversation, we don't even know what our desires are. We don't give ourselves the time to pause and reflect, breathe, much less so face our problems. So often we do have our back towards it and we're running. So for those who are looking to get to the next level, people who are listening to this, like very inspired, and I'll say men and women, because I freaking love this, but for men specifically who are hearing your stories and are like feeling fired up right now, what do they do?
Yeah, that's great. Great question. I think the first great work of any man is to have a vision for his life. You got to know where you're going. If you don't know your outcome, you're not going to get it. And I think inside of that vision, your vision should be big enough that it encompasses you and something beyond you. I don't care what that is, your family, your community, your tribe, your whatever is at an arm's length distance, because you will do more for other people than you will do for yourself.
Yes.
And you can use that as a bridge to get beyond your position in life. Doubly true if you're like of the variety of certain kinds of faith, but not necessary, right? If you will just make a vision that's bigger than you for other people, the chances that you're going to start moving in the direction of that vision to help other people when you won't help yourself are so much greater than you trying to help yourself, especially if you have like some form of learned helplessness or you might call it trauma or whatever you want to call it. If you can just start to think about other people beyond you and be in service of other people, that's a great way to get started. I think the next two things is like all of personal development in two lessons. I'll give it to you here. Number one, the next priority meta in your life as a principle is to go from being reactive to being proactive, right? To go from being at effect to at cause. That's it. Where in my life can I go from being reactive to proactive to being at effect of what's going on around me to being at cause inside of my world? Yes. I don't care if that's I'm getting on a meeting and I'm an employee at somebody's company. Being at cause is going, what is the purpose of this meeting? What is my outcome of this meeting? Okay, I'm going to get on this meeting and I'm going to help take Jim, who's in this state, from state A to state B. That's my objective.
Right.
I just shifted from showing up, and if my whole calendar is full of meetings and all I did was just remind myself to be proactive and to be at cause instead of at effect, I'm going to get more mileage out of that time.
Right.
And building that muscle of being proactive and then directing it towards your vision, not somebody else's.
Right.
That's half of personal development. The other half is getting out of a scarcity mindset and going into abundance. There's nothing, literally nothing in our experience that's truly scarce. And I know that's controversial. All the people that are worried about global warming and precious resources on the earth, I don't want to make them wrong. My belief, which is absolutely true for me, is that everything is abundant.
Yeah.
And so your mission in life is to discover abundance everywhere in your life. Money is everywhere. There's more money than you could possibly imagine. I want you to Google or ChatGPT how much time is 1,000 seconds, 1,000,000 seconds, 1,000,000,000 seconds, and 1,000,000,000,000 seconds. And I want you to see what comes back, because you will find out, we hear these words like trillions of dollars. There's $11 trillion being passed from older generations to millennials. Trillion. I want you to tell me after you do this, if you're listening to this, go Google it. How many years is 1,000,000,000,000 seconds? You will fall out of your chair. We don't understand numbers. There's so much money and they'll just make more of it. Money is abundant. It's everywhere. It's in more abundance than the oxygen that you breathe or the sand that you walk in on the beach, and you can make more of it. So like, if you just keep doing this exercise and you learn to believe that there's almost nothing that's scarce, you can start to step into and train your brain to see that life and all of its wonder is full of abundance, right? So I think if you can go to being proactive, go from being, at effect, at cause, and then get out of a scarcity mindset in all aspects of your life. And that might take years to figure out. Just start somewhere.
Yes.
And you have a vision for something bigger than yourself. To me, that's the raw material for what can you make of yourself if you choose to. What can you do with any energy that this podcast is giving you to get yourself to wherever you want to go, to manufacture the minimum viable belief that you need to take the next best step that's right for you. To me, those are the conditions. You could have also asked me, what will you teach your son as a man to get through the world? And it will be those exact same things. Plus, I'll add faith, sales, and money beneath it because, yeah.
Oh my gosh, that's so good. Okay, I know we have a little bit of time left. You're working on your 4th exit. You've built 5 businesses?
Yes, this would be our 6th.
Okay, so with all of that knowledge, right? And then, because I think so often we operate out of disparate parts of being. We've got the emotional, spiritual over here, and then the intellectual business over here. And then with you living integrated, I mean, the abundance mindset, for example, I can hear and feel and sense how much that flows into your business. And so with what you're building right now, what are the 2 biggest teachings and principles you would encourage people to take away based on what you're doing right now? And you can even say, if it does happen to be, I'm teaching this course or offering this thing, or like, I want to know truly from your experience in the business world, what are the 2 things that are most important? Normally
I would have like a really easy answer for this. It's just everything is shifting so much with AI.
Yeah.
We run an AI company called Daily AI. We make AI newsletter for small businesses and thought leaders, everybody from Robert Kennedy Jr. to Tony Robbins to Chris Voss, you name it.
And I've seen it. It's so powerful.
Yes.
It's so exciting.
We love our product. And, and of course, we're humble enough to know we're lots of opportunity to make it better. So I think the big opportunity for most entrepreneurs or people that want to be entrepreneurs, that's a little bit hard to get over. The number one lesson, if you want to grow a business in the early days, is speed of implementation. How fast can I go from insight to action? That's it. Because if you can just lean into that, you can get out of the way of perfectionism. You can get out of the way of inaction, and you can get out of the way of taking more time to do something that could easily take less.
Yes.
Business is a game of speed. Clarity creates speed, and honesty creates clarity. So if you want speed of implementation, you have to understand that formula. Be honest. See the future that you want to see and make it real and repeat it, but know where you're at today.
Yes.
I don't have 1 million users, and I don't have $1 billion business, and I don't have, the kind of penetration that we want. What I do have is this. My company's got like 205 active businesses in it. We make about $1.8 million in revenue a year. We're growing at about 15% a month. That's honesty. That's honestly where we're at today as we record this. That honesty will give me clarity. That clarity will give me speed so I can take the right actions.
Yes.
Most of business is speed of implementation and saying no to so many other things that aren't on the path. If you could literally just implement those 2 things, if I could have, I have a private coaching practice as well, and I work with 8 and 9 figure entrepreneurs. If I could just have them get those 2 lessons, we could just get the whole business conversation off the table and just talk about the real stuff, which is the inner game. Yeah. But that's it. Literally, if you just did those 2 things, the chances of success in business would go through the roof.
So good. Joe, thank you so much. I feel like you've given us just a treasure trove, and I love your stories. I mean, who you are is truly exquisite, and I feel so honored that we heard from you today. So thank you.
Well, thank you for wanting me, which created the space to come here and tell these great stories.
I love it. We're all better for you. So thank you, my friend.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Thank you for tuning in to this week's episode on the Knowing Podcast. Here's the thing. While you and I can pursue therapy, we can pursue masterminds, network opportunities, there's a lot of external opportunities for us to further engage and propel our journey of knowing self, knowing our relationships, and knowing our business. But what I hope for you is that beyond all the external, that you take the questions asked during this conversation, any revelations that you garnered through listening, that you take it and you actually apply it and go inward, that you take time this next week to do some self-reflection, to get to know yourself through your own efforts, because you are worthy of knowing. I'll see you next week.